Today we're going to be painting up the owlbear from the D&D set that has been released from Army Painter and Gale Force 9. They've released quite a few, they've released 3 sets, well 2 sets and a paintbrush set. So you got the Adventurer set and the Monster set. One being the smaller, one being the bigger. And in the bigger one you received this, the owlbear. And the smaller one you got Minx and Boo. In my previous video I did a rundown of what is in there, and I'm basically looking at all the stuff. If you haven't seen that video, go over to the previous video and check it out. It'll show you everything that comes inside the boxes. So in this one, like I said, it's going to be a run through for the owlbear, so a painting tutorial on the owlbear itself. Now, later in the video, there is a massive problem that happens. I will explain to it when we get to that, and I'll explain to you how I fixed it. So, sit back, and let's get down to the painting tutorial. So then, the owlbear. First colour is going to be owlbear brown. Obviously straightforward, it's the main thing for him. There is a hell of a lot of this colour, and as you can see I'm using a technique called an overbrush, I believe it's called. It's really the quickest way in a sense, unless you're going to spray in brown. You probably could have got away with spraying it, to be honest, would be a lot quicker for you. I had to take the easier way because I only had white primer at a particular point. So, as you can see, it's just literally an overcoat of owlbear brown. Making sure to get every little nook and cranny. I'm not too bothered where it goes at the moment. I'm just going to slap it on. I can work out everything else, as it comes to it. But at the moment, I want to get down this, get a solid foundation of the colour, and make sure that I'm getting everything just perfect. There definitely is a lot of features in this. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, it's just going straight through the wings now. I'm just going to make sure underneath all the wings and all that, every nook and cranny. This was the bulk of it, to be honest. So I've done the second coat off screen, but yeah, you got Autoch brown or Autoch brown or something like that. But basically, this is the owlbear's, effectively, I'd say skin. Does that make sense? So it's basically the skin that's underneath his feathers for the hands and then the feet as well. Again, it's a very simple bit now. Instead of having to do that bulk of the owl brown, like I said, I've done an extra coat or 2 off camera for the owl brown because it was just taking its time. So I thought, instead of flooding you with a video of me doing it, get it sorted this way. So making sure that we get everything on the toes, all that sort of thing. I don't really want to miss anything. I'm not too bothered with it in the floor, but So now we've got orc skin. Now orc skin is to build up the foundation of the white that will eventually go on his chest. It adds more, essentially it makes it look more white if you start with a grayer tint to go with. Plus painting with white can be a bit of a farce in some cases. It can be quite annoying. So if you go through a light grey, you wash it, and then for me I use a dry brush technique to get the grey down and then go to white. So next part, abyssal black. Abyssal black will be for the nails on the hand, the claws, the talons, on the feet as well. And then also there is like a flick that goes at the sides of, the only thing I can just say is the owlbear's ears kind of thing, or like the top of his head, and it'll come across onto the crown as well. Again, it's the same case as with everything. Just make sure you're getting all of it down. You're not missing any patches or anything like that. You can still be a bit messy at this stage, but as long as you're getting everything down, you should be fine. As long as you don't have to rectify your work at a later point. Now, so the next one is Cambion Crimson. Cambion Crimson, just going to stick it inside the mouth. That's just to add a base colour for the tongue. Next, Lawful White. Now, you can't see it on the screen, but it's Lawful White. So Lawful White is just basically to paint in those eyes. Now, this is really just to make the yellow pop. So this yellow is called Fire Newt Orange. So it's like an off yellow, so it's like an orangey yellow. Now we're going to go hit back up with the Abyssal Black. The Abyssal Black is now to add the pupil. So just a single dot either side. Make sure he doesn't look too squiff, make him quite centered. Orc skin. So what we're going to do with orc skin is we're just going to redefine some of the beak and all that, something I didn't pick up earlier. And it's good to pick this up now before we go to the shading. So I'm just adding a bit more features to the beak and stuff. Now we're going flesh wash. Flesh wash, we're going to hit up all of his flesh. So all of that otog or togue brown, just make sure that's all covered in the flesh. The flesh wash, just make sure it's a nice good coverage. So just making sure we're going to keep everything in line. I don't want to miss any patches. It's going to be a pain. Brown wash. Now this is where it went horribly wrong. So as it's going on, it doesn't look like there's any problems. It looks like there's no issues, and I didn't believe there was anyway. Pull it on. I come back half an hour waiting for it to dry, and still looked wet, looked soaking. So I gave it a little bit longer, waited an hour this time, still soaking, or what looked to be soaking at that point. After a couple of hours I thought, damn it, I'll just pick it up. Bone dry, and for some reason it had turned glossy. Now I've never had a wash turn glossy on me. You know, if you have, I'd love to hear your experiences of this, because it can't be a common problem. So, you know, I've never had it come across for me anyway. But because the way this wash had gone, it had seeped so low, it had gone in between the toes and all that, and I had to do a lot of making up work. But as you can see, glossy as hell, and that is after 6 hours of drying. So yeah, if you've had the same experience, drop in the comments. I'd love to know if if everyone else has done it, or is it just me. So this is Minotaur hide. Minotaur hide. We're just basically going to dry brush up the the feathers and all that. Now this is a tabletop ready one. It's not going to be anything fancy. This is just so that to show you techniques and show you what you could do to just get it straight down and it's ready. So I'm just dry brushing all of this sort of stuff. A little bit of care when you're coming around the grey, but if you hit it, it's always a case of you can go back, you can fix things and all that sort of thing. So it's not the end of the world. So you can see I'm just making it a second pass. Instead of doing a heavy dry brush, I've done several light coats, so you don't get this huge patchy work. It's quite a nice smooth transitions and stuff like that. So I think in the end I hit about 3, possibly 4. So now we're going to go for Minotaur hide and skeleton bone. What this is we're going to lighten it up, give that extra bit further to some of the peaks. Now there isn't a lot of skeleton bone. It's probably about 70-30. Yeah, 70 to Minotaur hide and 30 of this skeleton bone. So now we're going to work on this white. So just going to dry brush it on. Dry brush the white. It's everywhere we need it. And as you can see, yes, it's not pitch white, but it adds that effect of white kind of feathers, and it works better for your white instead of just painting white. So we're going to Oshtok brown. Oshtok brown, what I'm having to do now is just highlight back up all of that skin, and I'm doing it a hell of a lot more than I would because I'm having to reconstitute the colour of what was originally there because of where the wash had seeped down, because where it had gone wrong somehow. So a lot of it is, this is a lot of mending work, and it's not turned out the way I want it, but it's still good enough to be played on table. Yeah. So we'll go to fair skin. Fair skin, we're just going to highlight up particular areas of the feet and the skin, so that it's, you get a focal point of it. My camera work is very atrocious in this one, sorry about that, but yeah. If it was on screen, you'd see this. Basically, we're going over the ridge of the toes, we're going over certain areas of the palms and all that sort of thing. Anything that's got the raising. So this is Pixie Dust Pink, quite a bright pink. And what I'm doing is just getting that tongue, bringing it out a bit more, get a bit of some colours into this. So now we've got Lawful White. Lawful White, what I'm doing is just adding 2 white dots as a reflective, so it adds a bit more dimension to the eyes. So next thing is the basin. So what I'm going to do is just put down some BVA, and I'm just going to spread it around to the areas, make sure there's some gaps like bigger formations that are on the base, and I'm just going to put some of this battleground on it. Spread it in, make sure it's all good. Now that's dried, I'm going to use skeleton bone and Minotaur and owlbear, I think it was. Yeah, and I'm just basically going to do a 50-50. I'm just going to dry brush it up. Then we'll go to skeleton bone. Same process, dry brush it up, and it adds this very nice, like, deserty feel to it, I believe, like, that sort of dirtier feel. Then we're going to use some Woodland Tufts, also from Army Painter. As you can see, a lot of this is Army Painter, well, all of it. And what I'm doing is just basically dipping in the PVA, finding spots where possibly it didn't really stick, and putting it there. So the last piece is matte black, and then what I'm doing for this, just painting around the edges. So there you go, that's the owlbear. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time guys, see ya.